very difficult to talk about these things without offending somebody, I guess. But if two transgender women won the female race, leaving the third person being the only person amongst those three who was born female, is that a threat in some way to women's sport? What's happening?
Yes, I think it absolutely is a threat. I should clarify that the categories that this event organiser provided in this race, they basically got rid of the previous men's and women's categories, and they created new categories, which they've called Thunder and Lightning, respectively. However, they've used as a starting point male and female performances. So they are kind of using sex to divide the categories, but then they've said, if you're trans or non-binary, you can essentially choose the category in which you compete. So the Lightning category, which was kind of what the women's category was, basically any male can turn up and say, I'm trans, I'm non-binary, I want to go in this category. And that means that for females, competition is unfair and unsafe. But what I find even more alarming about this event is they've said cis people, and that's their use of the word cis. I don't use cis because I consider it an insult. They've said cis people cannot choose their category. So if you're just boring old male or female, you have to go in the formerly men's and women's categories. But if you're trans and non-binary, you can choose whichever category you want to go in. And this frankly makes a nonsense of organising sport in a way which is fair for everybody. They've said their event is fair and inclusive for all, but actually it's only fair and inclusive for males. It is not fair for females, because both their categories are welcoming of males.
Yes, it's an extraordinary business. I mean, we all want to live in a society which is tolerant and accepting of people's various transgender issues. But I can't understand where this is going to go, because if you're born male, you have probably got a much stronger, bigger, taller physique, whether you go trans or not. And that means that it does create an unfair playing field for women, just as you've said. What's the answer?
Exactly as you said, but it's not even probably. If you are born male, you have much greater physical abilities on average than anyone born female. In running and swimming, for example, the advantage is around 10%, all the way up to about 160% in punching power. And cycling is around 10% as well. So women's sport is in a very serious place because males are self-identifying into the female category, and that means unfair and unsafe competition for females. And, you know, national governing bodies need to act now to get males out of female sport, because the future of female sport is absolutely under threat. I would even say it's in crisis point, because females, if they see unsafe and unfair competition, they will self-exclude, even if they're not excluded by a male, as happened in this race 2 days ago. They will self-exclude. I know of women right now who, because they have to compete against males, are leaving their sport.
And that's tragic, but I can't understand how we're going to deal with this, because what you're saying is you can only compete in the gender category in which you were born, whether you are completely genuinely trans or not. But surely that's unfair as well on genuinely trans people.
Well, what matters in sport is your birth sex, of which there are two, male or female. And as we've just said, males have massive physical advantages compared to females. How you identify is totally irrelevant in sport. You know, you can identify as trans or non-binary, or you like to wear a dress, have long hair, vote Tory, vote Labour, religion. All these things are totally irrelevant in sport. What matters is sex, male or female. Other things like age, of course, also matter, disability and weight in sports like boxing. But identity, including gender identity, is totally irrelevant. So what matters is sex. So sports should be welcoming to all trans people, but they have to compete in the category of their sex to ensure fairness for females. If males, trans-identifying males, are allowed to self-identify and have special privileges and access to the female category, as we've seen in this cycling race, then it is unfair for females, and females will leave the sport.
What do you say, though, then, to somebody who has actually changed sex, born male and actually changed sex, completely gone through the whole process and has become a woman? What would you say to them? What category should they compete in?
So under the Gender Recognition Act, you can change your sex legally, but you cannot change your biological sex. Biological sex is fixed just after conception, and it remains fixed until we all die. You cannot change your biological sex. And the scientific evidence is very clear that testosterone suppression, which is used by males who wish to identify as women, does not remove male physical advantages entirely, and therefore competition is unfair. So to somebody who is legally female, I would say, fine, live your life as a woman, but you are biologically male, and therefore you cannot compete in the female category, because this is unfair, discriminatory and excluding of females.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.